Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zellin. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast. Welcome to Better Business with Austin Zellin. Today, I'm super excited to have my friend Eddie here from Bad Marketing. He's got a bunch of other companies, but man, this guy is a marketing genius. But beyond being a marketing genius, he knows how to run companies very, very effectively and efficiently to the point where he can join us on a podcast. And he's got hundreds of employees and, many companies that he's running at the same time. And it's all running smoothly, which I think is a great skill to have for any entrepreneur. So, if people are wanting to better their business, this is definitely the episode to pay attention to. So Eddie, could you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, maybe how you started and then how you got to where you're at today with all the employees and companies and business that you have now?
Yeah, man. So for context for everyone listening, I'm 30 years old. So I kind of started my entrepreneurial journey in college. So I was about 17 years old when I started. I'm not going to get into what those businesses were. We all started like our own little companies in college and whatnot. But as I graduated, I actually went and got a corporate job. And in getting the corporate job, I was making a six-figure income. I was doing really well, like compared to my friends at the age of 20, 21. I was making like 120, 150K a year. And I realized, I was like, listen, I could sit here and chase money and I could chase like a 10 grand raise a year and I could be very fulfilled financially in that sense. Or I could go chase knowledge. And so I know it sounds super cliche, but I actually quit my six-figure job. Took a job for 30 grand a year plus bonus potential based on performance in the marketing space. And I went and basically scaled up another company via marketing and lead gen and all these other things. And I ended up actually making more money than I made at the other job. But the purpose initially was to learn more. I felt like I was already capped out. I was making six-figure commissions. I was the number one salesperson in that company. And so I realized at a young age, listen, if I do everything wrong financially for the next 10 years, but I just learn so much more and so much quicker than everyone else, then I think by the time I'm 30, my theory is I could make more in that 1 year than I would have made in the 10 years from 20 to 30, right? And so that was kind of the mindset I got into. And so as I, grew that company, a lot of attention started coming my way from investors that were involved and other things. And so I started recognizing the opportunity that I think I could take this marketing skill set and start doing it for other people. And I always reflect back on this, looking back where I'm at now. I always tell people like, I never got into this business to be a CEO and to have hundreds of employees and to like build a huge company. You know what I mean? I got into the business because I was really good at marketing and it was really fun. And I could do it from a computer and do it from anywhere. And I knew I could make like 50 to 100 grand a month. And I was like, you know what? This is like a really cool lifestyle. Like, let me work my way up. At the time, like 10 grand was a lot. Then 40 grand was a lot. Then 100 grand was like unachievable monthly, right? And so over time, as I learned more, I started breaking more barriers, like not only in skill sets, but just like mentally understanding what is a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like you and I are, we travel a lot. We see so many different kinds of money. Like my friends now make $100 million a year plus. So even if I'm making tens of millions of dollars a year, I'm like so broke and poor to them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like my friend group who grew up with me, making 200 grand a year was like insane. You know what I mean? Whereas my other friends, it's like 200 grand a day is broke. And so like, I think learning and challenging myself throughout that time to get to where I'm at and going from sitting in my basement, like dude, in 2020, I was still sitting in my parents' basement, working from a laptop with like 2 VAs as staff, And then I think over time being exposed to all these people making more money and I realized like, respectfully, I'm smarter than a lot of these people. I have skills that they don't have. And so it came to a point where I was like, I think it's just me putting a mental barrier of how much money I can make and how big I can do this. And so once I got to a point where I was making like 40, 50K a month for myself, I was like, if my worst case scenario is falling back on this, and I know like if I lost everything, just from the skills that I have, I could make 40 to 50 grand a month. I felt pretty secure, like if I could take home 500, 600 grand, worst case scenario in life, I could take care of my wife, my children, get a house, a car, whatever. And so in that moment, I realized I was like, okay, this is my safety net. This is my floor. I'm just going to shoot for the moon. And so from there, I started hiring people. I started understanding more about building teams, turning into a CEO, getting gray hair, like life completely changed. And it went from building what was at the time called 4 Media, Now we're called Bad Marketing. And it just went from 10 people to 20 to 30 to 40. Now we're at 185 in that company. And through that company, now we use it as an engine to go buy other businesses. So we bought software companies. I just bought an entire chicken franchise in Atlanta, where I'm from. We're buying other agencies. We've bought 3 other agencies. We're about to buy 2 more. And so we're turning the marketing engine into what basically from a finance, a hiring, a marketing side. Cause like you don't just get to 180 people without like having good hiring systems, having a good financial team, like all these admin aspects of a business that we neglect. Mm-hmm. Now that we have it, I'm like, we're already paying for it. Why don't we use it to go scale other companies and have equity in those companies? So that was kind of my rise. So in 2020, I was still literally like making nothing, made tens of thousands a month, but 2 VAs, parents' basement, mom's bringing me food, telling me to eat. Like that was literally like 3.5 years ago. And here we are today.
That's awesome, man. Like what a journey, in 3.5 years, your life can change so much, and it's just about, like you said, I like that journey that you took because you got really good at that one thing and that was like your safety net. And I think a lot of people maybe try to jump into entrepreneurship without getting good at something. And so they really don't have a safety net. So maybe they make a little bit more emotional decisions than you were making at that time because they don't have that sense of, okay, worst comes to worst, I'm going to be able to do this marketing thing. I'll still make $50K a month. I'm fine. And so I think what you did is open a door for yourself to take larger risks than most people. And now you're reaping the rewards of that. So calculated, larger risks, I think, is the way to go. Now, as far as something you talked about with 4Media and Bad Marketing, now you've developed really what it is, like a system. It's like an engine, and you can place that engine within any business that you can acquire. And because you've done it so efficiently here, as soon as you put that more efficient engine into another business, they become more profitable. They start making more money. And so you're able to buy them essentially at a discount and then improve their business and hire more people and increase their revenue and obviously drive up the value of that business. So your portfolio is growing because you developed that system one time. So what are some steps that led you to developing that system within your marketing company and then templatizing it for other companies as well?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like when you go to college, do you have a degree? Mm-hmm. What do you have?
MBA, working on my PhD right now.
Okay. Oh, you're working on your PhD. What's the purpose?
Just for fun.
Kicks and giggles. Say doctor, right?
Yeah. No. So in
Dr. Zealot.
Exactly. Trust me, I'm a doctor. No. So with the PhD thing, yes, it is kind of a doctor thing. But when I was in first grade, I don't remember why I even did this, but I asked my professor, my teacher, I guess, I was like, hey, what's the highest level of education you could get? And they said college. And I was like, okay, but like what degree? And so they told me there's a bachelor's, there's a master's, and there's a PhD. And so I just I don't know why, but I set a goal for myself. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get a PhD. Had no idea what that meant. And now I'm suffering the consequences. It's the worst thing ever. Honestly, I hate it.
That's funny.
But it is going to say Dr. Zealot. So
there you go. Hey, that makes
look good on a book.
So the reason I'm asking is because I went to college and I learned a little bit of everything that was irrelevant, right? I learned fucking history. Pre-Civil War history, post-Civil War history, journalism class, all this shit that just wasted so much of my time, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I showed up to a business like most people do. They start a company because they have a problem that they're solving or something cool that they're bringing in the marketplace. And we're not taught how to run a fucking company, right? So most of this stuff happened by accident. I'll give you an example. Our finance department. We had no finance department, dude. It was me making sure Stripe transactions were coming through. If someone failed, I'd run it again. Super basic stuff on a spreadsheet. We're calculating our numbers every month. And then what our account manager, so in the marketing world, this is the person that's client facing. They're talking to clients, making sure their campaigns are good, whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey man, I have a finance background. I just want to bring a report to you. I think there's some important numbers you need to see. I'm like, cool. When? He's like, tomorrow, 3 p.m. I'm like, cool. Got it. I'm ready for you. Shows up, literally puts a presentation on the screen. He put an entire 20-point PowerPoint slide. And he's like, this department, these are the metrics and this is what I'm seeing and these are the numbers and we're actually losing money here. We're not realizing it. And started pointing out all this shit. And I'm like, you're promoted. You're now the finance department. Congratulations. And so things just kind of happen piece by piece, right? Hiring too was at first, whoever needed the person. So if you're in the media department and you need an editor, go hire the editor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's how it worked. If I needed someone, I'll go and hire that person, put some job postings. We'll figure it out. Ask some friends. Yeah. But over time, we realized all these things lag the business. So If we're always going to wait on everyone's like own personal process, we're never going to get there. So we decentralize a finance team. So now we have 4 people on the finance team. So that same person is now our CFO, and they have multiple people under them who are doing bookkeeping, who are organizing finances, planning ahead to see like what cash flow looks like, all these things that like you just aren't trained to do, right? So in a business, if I were to shorten it to like a way that makes sense for everyone, if you're actually going to run a company, you need 1, someone in charge of finances, 2, someone in charge of admin, which is like all the paperwork, all the bills, like helping the finance team, helping the CEO, helping all these areas, like usually executive assistants and other more like paperwork based roles. Then you need like a hiring and HR team. So this is like hiring, which is like getting people, and then HR, which is like managing the people that we already have. Dude, I mean, up to like 100 employees, we didn't even have like an HR department. We're like, oh, we're all cool. Like everyone knows the rules. Like we're good to go. You know, time off, just put it in. We're good to go. And then we started kind of figuring these things out, right? And then now that everything is centralized because of all those things, and there's a marketing department, there's a sales department, all these other aspects, it makes it easier to go and do what we were talking about, which is like I can go to another business. I can say, okay, looking at this business, probably 90% of businesses I look at, if not more, have a financial shit show. They don't manage their numbers well. They don't know what those look like. And so we have to spend a month just cleaning it up before we even buy them, just to kind of figure out what does it actually look like, right? And it's usually worse than they think. But then we can pinpoint certain things. So like either they have a hiring problem or a marketing problem or a product problem. And so we're not sitting here going and trying to fix everything, which I think is the problem that most people do. We'll fix one thing at a time. So like I bought this chicken franchise. They're like, oh my gosh, Eddie, the marketing king is here. Like run ads tomorrow. Let's go. And I was like, we're not running ads for 2 months because we have to fix the product. So we got like a Michelin star chef to come in and fix the product. Now the product is insane. And so like you have to recognize every industry is different, right? In the restaurant industry, like your favorite restaurants, you don't go to because they have great ads. You go to because you went to them once and you're like, this is an awesome experience, or this is an awesome meal, or whatever it is that kept you there, and you keep coming back. And so I'm like, I'm not going to go sit here and spend money on marketing, even though that's my skill set, until we fix the product where when I bring a new customer, they come back 10 more times. And so once you've compartmentalized the business into those different areas, and again, it takes scale. Like you can't have 10 employees and have an HR department and a finance team and like all these things, right? But once you build that, because it's so hard to build and we're not taught to do it, then it puts you in a position of power to be able to go and acquire and quickly like snap your fingers and do 1, 2, 3 things in a company and take it to the next level. So I know it's a long-winded answer here, but we don't get taught this stuff in school, right? And so I had to kind of just figure it out. You know, here I am now, I'm able to afford like paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to people who are making hundreds of millions to teach me some of these things and show me the blind spots that I don't have. Cause you know, you only figure it out when you either fuck up, it's too late, or someone else tells you about it. You know what I mean? So I'd rather the second one.
And those mentors and coaches, like they can accelerate your business a lot. I think that's been one of my best investments in business, is like paying people to show me what I'm not seeing, because you don't know what you don't know. And like you said, you can either mess up or somebody else has gone through that experience and they can show you what it looks like and how to avoid the same mistakes that they made. So
I think it's actually the best investment.
Oh yeah.
Pause right there. I think
for sure.
Coaching, consulting, just investing in your brain. That is exactly why I am where I'm at.
Yeah.
Last year, I spent over $600,000 on my brain. Coaches, courses, consultants, the flights to go to the events, whatever it is, right? All combined, $600,000 plus. Like that is money I could have just put in my pocket. I could have bought 2 Lambos with that $600,000, which is like what sadly most people at this point in life do, is they'll just go take that and how many luxuries can I buy with it, right? But I think for everyone listening, like the more money you're able to take and to invest it into your future self, the bigger the return is. And if you really think about it, I always look at it as like a stock. Okay. If you know a stock's going to go up, you are incentivized to invest in it as soon as possible. The sooner you invest in the stock, the bigger your return is, right? And so like you going and paying a consultant 10 years from now to learn something, there is 10 years of information that you've missed out on now. And that is an ROI that you've missed. Whereas if you know that is, you know, you're up and coming, you're going to go upward, then I would pay for that consultant as soon as possible, because now you have all that time that you would have missed out on with information that you don't currently have, right? And so always invest as soon as possible. Dude, I take most of my income, honestly, and I just throw it right back into networking, consulting, and coaching.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a great analogy for people to understand like the urgency of it. Like you got to do it now because again, the stock is going up, you know, assuming you're being consistent and working on things and growing your business and stuff like that. So That's very, very important. Another thing that I would say about that mindset is like, as we continue to develop our mind, and it's like our engine or the lens through which we see life. And the better that we can get this lens to be, the clearer we see life and the bigger the opportunities. And it's kind of like, I don't know how to put it, but more like we're upgrading our engine to life, you know? And so if we can get it to a certain level where it's performing super, super well, we'll get to our goals faster. So definitely very, very important. Now, what do you do to surround yourself with the people that you want to learn from? I know you're connected to some pretty high level guys. So how do you get in their circle? Are you like sometimes paying to be there, or like joining their masterminds, or like what's a good strategy for people to take away from this?
Okay, great question. So there's a few strategies. There's a few, layers to my strategy, right?
Yeah.
And I built a really good Rolodex, honestly. I can almost probably text anyone within, at least anyone influential in the US. Like I can probably text one person away. Like I can text someone who knows them, which I think is more important than knowing everyone. I think if I'm one person away from everyone, I think it puts me in a pretty good position. I don't need to know everyone, right?
Yeah.
But number one is becoming an individual who is of value to those people, right?
Yeah.
So like you know how it is, dude. If you meet someone and you don't like them, it's just not going to work out, right? If you meet someone and they don't bring you any value, it's just not going to work out. Even if they paid you. If you can have someone pay you 50 grand, dude, I've had people pay 50 grand for a day. They come, I don't like them. I don't care if they have 50 grand. I don't care if they have tens of millions of dollars. Dude, everyone has money. Like, I just don't fuck with you and I don't care about you. And so therefore I'm not going to be friends and you don't bring me any value. So number one, you need to be a person of value. And you can't be fake. You just have to be your authentic self. So one, bring value. So for me, my value is marketing, right? I can go into any of these relationships and I can literally get on a call with them, point 2-3 things in their business and they make an extra $1 million because of it. That's value, right?
Yeah.
So one, you need to become a person of value. So where is the value that you can bring to these people so that that relationship grows into something else? So level one is like you bring value. Level two is like, okay, we like each other. Now we're actually friends outside of just like money, right?
Yeah.
But what I do in every case, once I become a man of value to these people, I always pay to play. So it's ironic how many people I meet that are like offended because of their ego, that someone is charging them to go hang out with them for a day or to go join their group or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Everyone's like entitled. They're like, me, dude, I wouldn't pay for that.
Yeah.
Dude, when I remember I had like 180 grand cash in my account. Okay. And I was going to buy my wife a Range Rover. And I sat there and someone posted like a post said, hey, come spend a day with me. And it was like an auction. And I was like, how high can I go? And she's like, spend it all. I know you. And if you go meet this person, you guys will get along really well and you'll do so much more business together. I was like, but your Range Rover. She's like, don't worry about my Range Rover. We can get another one later. Like, do your thing.
Good wife.
So great wife, right? So I ended up spending 45 grand. I ended up being the top bidder. Like everyone's like bidding like $100 more. I was like, this person will respect that I'm bidding like 5 grand at a time. You know what I mean? So 10, 15, whatever. Eventually 45K, spend a day with this person. Now, 4 years later, we're like super close friends. We've done millions of dollars together in business. He's opened doors to me that I couldn't have open. Vice versa, I've opened doors for him that he hasn't been able to open.
Yeah.
But that initial interaction was a pay for my seat at the table, right?
Yeah.
And in most of these connections that I have, I originally paid for a seat at a table, whether it's a mastermind, a networking group, whatever the case is, I paid to get into those rooms. And then because I was a man of certain value, those people wanted to interact with me. I brought them value before they brought me value and I paid.
Yeah.
So now I've double valued. And then from there, the relationships are organic. And therefore, like, it's just if I like you and you like me, then we get along. We're texting all the time. We're both making money together. But dude, I'm sure you're the same. My Rolodex is so big and, you know, money's money. Everyone has money now in my circles. And so I say that to say, like, if I don't like you, I don't really care. Like when I first started, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like meet this person. Oh, you know what I mean? Dude, if you're not like super cool and I really enjoy hanging out with you, like you, like I just don't even care. You know, everyone has money, dude. The money's everywhere, you know? So become a man of value or woman of value, pay to play.
Yeah.
And I think that'll happen organically after that point.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's a great strategy. And I've experienced the same thing. Sometimes I have to pay to be in a room, but that value that I'm getting from being in the room and connecting with those people and being able to share what I have to share, it really becomes a good opportunity to network and to connect with the people at that level that I want to get to. So definitely hear you on that one. So back to kind of the business operation side of things and systematizing certain things. If somebody's doing, let's say, 2 million, 3 million a year, what can they do most immediately to start creating these systems?
One, you need to step out of the business.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. And I kind of became more aware of this when I had my first daughter. So I was like, you know what? I can't step away from the company, all this stuff. And I did. I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to step away for like a month. It was really like 5 days, but I didn't go back into the office for a month. And it allowed me to watch the business externally and see chats happening and kind of do my own digging and not have to like be on calls all day, right? And I kind of stepped out and I started watching. And so if you step out of the day-to-day of like the battle of a soldier who's like, you're productive all day, you're running, you're taking land, whatever it is, as a soldier, right?
Yeah.
When you step out of that lens and you go into like the general lens, when you're looking down and you're like, why are we going that way when we should be going this way? You know what I mean? Like, but when you're on the ground, you just know you're moving forward. But when you're in the sky, you don't look at it like that. You look at it like, oh, why is this person going this way? And why is this person going this way? And so the first step is to pull yourself out of your business, as reckless as it sounds. And even if you break a few things by doing so, it puts you in a position to be much more untouchable moving forward, right? And so I stepped out of my business for a few weeks. I started watching things happening and I started seeing where all the problems were. And now I'm going in and basically building out Google Docs and checklists and processes of how this should run smoothly so that these problems aren't happening. And so as you kind of start tightening screws here and there, you start building a much tighter ship, which can go a lot further, right? And so as stupid as it sounds, I think you need to step away a little bit from the business, take a different perspective, because the day-to-day, you're always productive, you're always moving forward. But dude, how many people do you know that just work their ass off all day, every day?
Yeah.
And in 2 years, they're in the same exact spot they were 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, no progress.
And it's because they don't move out of it and look from like more of a general view rather than like a soldier view.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great analogy, general and soldier. So you mentioned something about becoming untouchable as a business. Can you expand on that a little bit? And like, what do you do in your business to become untouchable?
Okay, no business is untouchable, right? Just
we
untouchable.
can aspire to be untouchable.
Well, yeah, we can aspire to be, but every business dies over time. Every business is a risk over time. Real estate is a risk over time. Mm-hmm. Time just creates risk for everything, right? At some point, Apple will disappear as a company, and people at that time will just look at Apple as a company that died, whereas in our generation, it was like the biggest thing ever, right? So just to be clear, no business is untouchable. And so I say that because I think a lot of us are naive and think so. And so we get opportunities to sell our business, which is like a whole different world that like you don't even know about until you start getting into business. You're like, wait, people buy these things and you can like make money off just selling it to someone else. And so don't be naive and think that it's unbreakable. But in order to make an unbreakable business, one, I think sales and marketing has to be like the forefront of it, right? Most business problems are solved by generating more revenue, right? Like most of the problems you have, oh my gosh, we need more talent. We can't hire people that are good enough. Great. We make more money. We can hire more people, right? Oh my gosh, we need a better media and content team. We can't afford all this camera equipment that's in the studio. Oh, more money solves that problem, right? So like in business, more sales and more marketing, more attention and more money solves a lot of these problems, right? And so I think that's the most important part of being invincible as a business, right? Like Apple can drop whatever product they want, Apple Vision Pros for $4,000, and people will literally line up and sleep outside to go get those products. That is sales and marketing, right? Yeah. If Apple was the tightest ship ever operationally, and they did not have a good sales and marketing team, they would die as a company. And so sales and marketing is everything. I just watched like a little Andrew Tate clip. He was like, people come to me all the time. They're like, hey, I have this stuff. We could do it together. All you have to do is the marketing. And he's like, dude, that's like 95% of the work. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the first step to being untouchable as a business. I think number two would be your finances. Like most of us go and we just see money coming in and there's money going out. We don't like really know exactly what it is. And so now like with our CFO and our finance team, like I know when every dollar is coming out over the next few months. And so sometimes I'll be like, hey, let's go spend, we threw a party in area 15 like a month ago. I was like, hey, we're going to spend 150 grand on this. He's like, oh, we can't right now in this week because next week we have 400 grand leaving the account because we bought the software company and that's when it's due. So we actually can't make that payment until December 31st, example, right? Whereas if it was just me, I would have been like, swipe it. And then we would have had to do that payment. And then we would have had another payroll of 800 grand hitting in the same week. And we would have had no money in the account, right? All because of like the timing of the money going out. And so sales and marketing, number one, finance, which is more on the defense side, is number two. And then if you're trying to really grow a company, I think your biggest investment should be in people. Like everyone always asks me like, how are these companies running the way that they are? Is it like you have really good systems, you're the best in the world at that, or what is it? And like, although we have great systems, like our company handbook alone is like 400 pages, right?
Wow.
Although we have great systems, like it's about the people that follow the systems, right? And so everyone follows a system, but then there's like the extra 20% that you do your own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that variable you can't factor in with a piece of paper or a checklist or a system. It's the people that you hire, right? And so if I can find more people like me who are at that A player level, then I can grow a company. But in order to be invincible, sales, marketing, and finance, those two have to be tight. And I think you can build a company that's almost indestructible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like what you said about 80% systems and 20% like the person who's actually executing that system. And so what's been a strategy for you as far as like hiring and sourcing these people? And then when it comes to like development, are you developing people within your company?
Yeah. So every role in our company has like a training program. Obviously, if you're newer and starting out, like it's not feasible to do this, right? So one, I think even stuff like this, right? Like shooting this podcast, doing all these things, media and attention. A lot of people look at it as like a sales front, but what they don't look at it is an actual acquisition front for hiring as well. Like we have people in our company at this point because of how much media we create as Bad Marketing and on Instagram, on YouTube, the founders each separately kind of creating their own content. Because of all this attention, we're able to get people who are top tier talents coming to us. And you know, that I think is so powerful and something that people don't realize. Like today we're like, oh, we want to get another media buyer. And then they're like, okay, cool. One post, boom. You know, we have 10 interviews with people who spend $1 million a month or more. Just an example, right? 3 years ago, it would take me a year to find one person that did that. If I use Indeed, if I use LinkedIn, if I use everything, even try to go recruit people, it would be so hard. Whereas now, because we built that attention, you know, that is what kind of makes it a lot easier for us to hire people. But if I was just starting out, I would say like use the typical platforms, LinkedIn, all this stuff. But I'll tell you, some of the best people are actually freelancers. And so if you're able to go to a site like Upwork or Fiverr and hire someone on a job to job basis, see the level of work that they do for the thing that you're hiring them for. And if they're incredible, go hire them. That's how I would do it, dude. When I first started, to this day, there are people that work with me for 3 to 4 years, and I found them through Upwork. I'm like, okay, I need a funnel builder for websites. And then I'll go and hire like 3. I'll be like, build me this project. And whoever was the best at communicating, whoever was the best at delivering the best value, I would go and take, and I would get on a call with them and be like, hey, how much do you make doing this? And they'll be like, I make $3,500 a month. I'm like, cool, I'll pay you $4,500 a month. You quit tomorrow. You work with me full time. Just an example, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, those are the people who are extremely talented. And not only that, when you go and you're a contractor, you have to find work, you have to manage clients, you have to do all these other excessive things.
Yeah.
And it's not your job, right? But if you come work with me and I pay you more and all you have to do is your job, it's like less headaches, more money, win, 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 win across the board, right? And so that's, I think, a really good pro tip, especially when you're first starting out. That is how I would acquire talent.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great strategy. And like you said, it's a win-win for everybody. You're not like trying to convince somebody to make a big life change. It really makes sense for them to do that. But anyways, that's cool. I like that. And when I was building my teams, I think a lot of it has to do also, like you said, with your social media presence, with the attention that you have, the brand that you have, because some people just naturally relate to that and they want to be a part of what you're doing. So how have you seen social media change your business or help you scale your business?
Yeah. So, social media, again, is kind of like the core foundation of our business when it comes to sales and marketing and hiring acquisition. Okay. Both of those. And so I think people really underestimate who's on social media. So like I flew here first class. I was in the last row of first class and I'm sitting here watching what everyone's doing on their phones, right? These are all first class people. They have, you know, great watches. You have a $50,000 watch. I have a $50,000 watch. These guys have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 watches all through first class. And I'm sitting here watching them and all of them are on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're watching YouTube videos. They're doing the same stuff that everyone else does, right? And so one, I want to break this habit that people think or this perception that they have that like rich people don't get on social media. Like that is a lie. I have had clients who are $100 million companies come because they saw a video of me on YouTube or they saw a video of me on Instagram. And so number one, I think in the near future, if you don't exist on social media, you are pretty much dead, like to the world. Like if you don't have a profile on these platforms, if you're not creating content, you don't actually exist. So like back in the day, our circles were smaller, right? We didn't have like crazy technology like we have. And we just hung out with the kids that were on our street. or in our class. And so there's like these tiny environments. And so like 30 people knew who we were and that was enough. And 50 people knew who we were and that was enough. And like in our parents' days, it was even worse. Like 5 people knew who we were and we were popular, right? In today's world, if like thousands of people don't know who you are, that is opportunity that is being left on the table that you're not taking advantage of. And quite frankly, like all these people give me excuses like, oh, I hate being on camera, or I hate doing this, or I hate that. But then they're also like, but I also want to make a lot more money. I also want to make more connections. I also want to grow more, right? And so like without creating the social media content that you're creating, getting that attention and viewership and actually providing value to the masses, you're not leveraging any of that. You're not able to get on these stages or podcasts or things like that because you quite frankly don't exist. And so I think it's an important note because a lot of people are just naive to it and they make all these excuses of why they can't do it. And it's cool if you don't want to. If you don't want to grow a business, if you don't want to network, if you don't want to meet more people, you want to live like a soloed lifestyle, totally cool. Don't get on social media. But like nothing irks me more than people getting on and saying like, oh, I just hate being on camera, but I also want to like 10x my company this year. I'm like, okay, dude, there's very few ways that are more effective than doing that than this, right? And so it's so important to us to the point that like our internal content team costs us about, I'd say like 25, 30 grand a month just for like shooting content and editing it for ourselves. Like it's our podcasts, our YouTube channel, our Instagram channels, my reels, my partner's reels, like all these things. Like we'll spend about 25, 30 grand a month just organically on that, and then spend another 60, 70, 80 grand a month on our own ads to get us out there more because impressions are everything. And so we fill our agency conferences where we teach agency owners because of our impressions. We get clients because of our impressions. We get consulting deals because of impressions. We get on podcasts like this because of impressions. We meet each other because of impressions, right? So like I met you through a mutual friend who saw me on a video, who became my friend because of the video. And here we are now, 3 layers removed. Now we're friends, right? And so I think it's just very stupid if you're not on social media. And I think you're just making weak ass excuses if you're not actually trying to get out there and get it done. Like you're flying from Seattle, bro, to Vegas to shoot this podcast. I have so much fucking respect for you for that. You know what I mean? The person who was here before me, mind blown. They didn't even understand how that was a thing, how you're taking the time for 2 days to come shoot podcasts and do this stuff. And so most people don't do that. And so that is a huge edge that you have on the competition.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So if somebody's wanting to be more out there on social media, should they also start a podcast? Should they just start recording some content? Like what are some things that they should start doing to grow their company using social media?
Yeah, I think it all depends on their strength. So if their strength is like, I'm very like quick and loud and I can get people's attention, short form is probably the approach. You're going to get on TikTok. If you're polarizing TikTok, Instagram, like that's a really good approach, right? If you really suck on camera, then LinkedIn, Twitter are written platforms where you can still grow tremendously in Facebook just by writing things instead of getting on video, right? For me, for example, I can't compete with like hot girls who have huge tits on Instagram, right? And so like I'll do my best to post value, but like where I really win is YouTube, right? Because like a hot girl with a nice rack isn't going to compete with me on YouTube, right? And if someone listens to me talk for 45 minutes or an hour on a YouTube video, they're going to have a different level of respect and a different level of attention with me. And so now I don't have to compete with all these kids dancing and everyone trying to like do things to get 15-second squirrel attention and actually focus on people who want to sit there and like educate themselves because that's my strength. Like my character comes out on long form or on conversational stuff like this. I can't deliver something crazy in 25 seconds to the level that I'm trying to get to. But if I can take you from step 1 to 10 in a 40-minute video, I can get you there and I can get you obsessed with the knowledge that I'm creating and giving you. And therefore you binge me and you go down this rabbit hole. And so that's my strength. So my advice to everyone is like, find your strength based on those 3 categories and go hard on that one area. Like a lot of people just go and they'll be like, okay, well, I'm probably good at YouTube because of what Eddie said. And they'll go and post 2 YouTube videos and they'll get like 50 views and they'll be like, YouTube doesn't work. I suck at YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But they don't actually sit there and study it. They don't look at their thumbnails. They don't look at their click-through rates on the videos. They don't look at the retention and the watch time of the videos. And so if you just pick that one platform instead of trying to be on all of them and figure out like what makes this platform tick, because this is my area of comfortability, whether it's text, video, long form, short form, whatever it is, and just like study that platform obsessively, I think you'll be in a really good position to grow on social media.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because everybody kind of has their own strength, and whether it's short form or longer form, I think playing into that is really where the audience is going to relate to you, because otherwise it's not authentic, you know? I'm not really good at the short form content either. Like I'm not much of a TikToker, but you know,
yeah, I can't see you being like a huge short form guy.
so,
Exactly,
you know,
right?
dancing on TikTok. I could, but it would just be unauthentic, you know, and people will see through that. They're like, oh, like it's kind of weird, you know? It'll be cringe content. So we don't want any of that cringe content, but that's a great point about playing into where you're good at delivering, and you can deliver something that looks native to that platform as well.
Do you post your speeches on YouTube?
Yeah, so this podcast gets posted on YouTube.
This podcast, but like speeches, like you went to Germany, you had that huge speech recently or whatever it was.
No, actually I don't.
Okay, you should.
Oh, interesting.
Dude, all my best YouTube videos are my speeches.
Interesting.
I literally, no effort. I take the speech, I put it on YouTube.
Huh. And just raw and unedited.
Raw and unedited, 100,000 views. Wow. People are like, oh my gosh, this is the best content ever, right?
I got to try that.
Yeah, dude,
I got a bunch
I bet you're backloaded like 100 speeches at this point, right? And
I got a lot.
Start putting one a week, dude, one every 2 weeks on YouTube and watch like, dude, my best performing YouTube video was like a few hundred grand views. And it was me here in Vegas in a hotel, like small ass conference room, literally like almost the size, maybe twice the size of this podcast room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 50 people in there who are like in a mastermind. It was my friend's mastermind. I just came, I was like, whatever, fuck it. Like it's my friend, I'll show up, I'll deliver, and then I'll leave.
Yeah.
And I took that like video clip that was filmed in the back of the room on like a shit camera lens, put it on YouTube. Dude, and I'm telling you, like huge names in the business space, I'm not going to name them, were DMing me being like, hey man, found you on my homepage on YouTube on my TV. Wow. Or found you on here. And it was just that video. And so I always upload my speeches. I'd say every speech I've ever uploaded, and I don't have that many followers or subscribers on YouTube, all of them 10,000 views plus. And these are like people who are watching you for an hour. And like, if they're watching you for an hour talking in that setting, they're probably someone who you want to work with, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a better quality prospect and like no effort, no editing from you.
Yeah.
So something.
I got to give that a try, man. Yeah. I think that would definitely be interesting to see how it performs as opposed to the other
Just
content.
trying to avoid you shaking your ass on TikTok. That's all.
At all costs. Yeah. So, okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, social media has been a great tool even for my business as far as like scaling and stuff like that. And I'm sure you've seen that as well. So did you come up with some sort of like company-wide strategy? Like the founders are required to post XYZ, or like the partners are required to post this? Or is it just you kind of spearheading it and then they're just following along?
Yeah, it's actually a mix of both. So number one, this year I have a pretty good content distribution strategy. So I've taken like our department heads in each area. So like whoever's the email marketing expert in our company, whoever's the content expert, whoever's the Google expert, whatever. Mm-hmm. And now I'm basically building their own channels through them, right? And so we have copywriters whose job is to meet with them every week, get results, get cool case studies, turn them into tweets, turn them into LinkedIn posts, etc. Right? So I am trying to distribute content through other people in my company strategically. So that's a yes. So they'll meet every week. Here's like 5 really sick things we did in the email marketing world this week. And so then they'll give them to the copywriter. The copywriter will turn them into posts. And then slowly over time, I'm basically building like 10 other people in my business, right?
Yeah.
Up till then, though, the strategy was me, my partner, Ashton Shanks, and I have a lot of partners. He's like the main partner with me, like from a front-facing standpoint. And then also our channel, Bad Marketing. So like strategically, for example, Bad Marketing, I'm like, dude, we have a name, Bad Marketing. I'm like, we could do whatever the fuck we want, right? So right now we're growing really fast because what I'm doing is I'm like, listen, we don't need to sit here and go crazy with these concepts, right? Why don't we just figure out like, how can we piggyback on things that are hot? So like example, Kanye just, did that Super Bowl ad. It went crazy, made $20 million day one. We like shot a video about it, talking about it with a voiceover. Here's how he did it.
Like
Here's
reaction content.
Exactly, right? Reaction content. Boom, dude. Literally day one, we had like 600 shares. Okay. Which on Instagram to us for a small page is massive, right?
Yeah.
When Starbucks did the collab with the Stanley Cup for the pink Stanley Cup and everyone went crazy and everyone wanted a Stanley Cup, immediately day one, we did a video talking about why it happened, why the collab happened. Was it a good marketing strategy? Was it not? And so I'm like, dude, we're Bad Marketing. If we just become like the news of marketing world and make marketing fun and show all the different ways that people are doing different things to do really cool marketing things, take old ads from the past, talk about why it was a sick ad and let people vote on was it good or bad. We can just ride that wave and do it. And so that's our strategy on the Bad Marketing side moving forward on Instagram, TikTok, and it's popping. And then on YouTube, our strategy is all value. So like right now we just posted a video of like, if we started an Amazon brand from scratch, what would we do to make a ton of money this year. And so like we'll walk through all those things that we would do. So
Yeah.
YouTube's education, Instagram and TikTok are like a blend of entertainment and education through storytelling.
Awesome. I love that. I think that's a great strategy, that reaction content, because you're tapping into something that's already happening. You don't have to create the virality of it. It's already going viral. You're just tapping into that. I think that's powerful.
That's it, dude. It happens at 6 p.m. Next day, 9:30, it's posted. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And so it's easy to ride those waves.
Yeah, absolutely. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about is like outside counsel or like consultants or coaches. How often do you involve them in your business operations? Obviously, you're really good at what you do. Obviously, you have a system in place, but how often you're like, hey, like maybe I'm not seeing something. Maybe it's time to hire a consultant. Do you do that, and how often?
As often as I need it to be. So here's the thing. I used to go and spend money on a lot of groups and like
masterminds.
I still do.
Mm-hmm.
But now what I do is I'm like strategic. So I only pay people directly when I need a certain problem fixed that I can't see in front of me. And again, right now I have 180 employees, so it's a little bit different, right? I can. Someone else might see a problem that I don't. There's a chance, 180x chance that someone sees a problem that I don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like me just being solo, so that helps. But like even like the chicken franchise, right? I went to buy the chicken franchise business. I paid the CEO of Which, who has 400 something locations. I paid him. I'm not going to say how much out of respect, but I paid him, a good bit, 5 figures, to have 2 calls with him to go over the financials of this company. I had like a doc of like 5 pages of questions. Hey, should I buy it? Should I not? What do you think? How would you grow it? How would you exit it? How would you brand it? Like, let me get someone else's advice who's done this at the level that I want to get to in this business that I'm going to get, and then make my decisions based on that, even before I buy the business. So like some people might look at it as a loss. Oh my gosh, Eddie, you spent tens of thousands of dollars before you even bought the company. Yeah, but dude, if I made the mistake and bought the company and I shouldn't have bought that company, and that would have cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Whereas like that extra tens of thousands will save me maybe millions of dollars of mistakes moving forward. And so I'm always back to pay to play. Like I'll find the problem that I have specifically and go find the most qualified and directly correlated person to that problem that I can go and get their opinion and their answers from. And that is kind of how I go about consultants. So it's not like a set, like every 3 months I do this or whatever it is. It's like, if there's a problem and I know someone else is far more qualified to do it than me, and the ROI is going to outperform the cost that I'm going to pay that person, then I go and pay that. I don't even hesitate. What's the price? I'm in.
Awesome. I love that. And so it sounds like you prepare quite a bit of questions beforehand so that they can strategically help you with certain aspects of it.
Yeah. Once I know who I'm talking to, I do. Right. Like if I don't know, I don't have the questions. Right. But then I go and I pay someone that amount of money. I'm like, I'm not just going to show up and be like, hey, tell me what's up. Like I'm going to collect all the data I can, all the information that I have over a year of trying to solve this problem. I want to bring it to them in 10 minutes so that I can use the next 50 to discuss the information and go through other questions that I might have about it.
Yeah. And so that's like the example that you brought up is you acquiring a company. And then in your business, like for bad marketing, for example, do you bring in people in the operations?
All the time. Yeah. Right now I'm talking to someone. It doesn't even have to be operations, right? So right now I'm talking to someone who we're trying to figure out a way for them to come coach our employees on productivity and health and fitness on a weekly coaching call and coach the entire company as a whole. Yeah. Because I know if I pay this person and they make the 180 people 10% more productive, we have a much better company as a whole, right? And they're happier and they're more productive. All the time I do it for operations. I do it for sales stuff. I have someone right now actively full-time as a consultant, consulting my sales team full-time because I don't have the time to do it. Like I'm really freaking good at sales, but I have to run a company. I'm a CEO. I have to run multiple companies, you know what I mean? And make all this content and do all this stuff. And so I have a sales consultant that I pay a very significant amount every year, and they consult my sales managers and my sales team. And that's what they do externally. And so my operations team, my COO, he has another COO of a much bigger company who I pay as an external consultant to consult him because I want a bigger COO to tell my COO what to do. And I do that in many, many areas of the business. So if you're running a company and like a lot of times you don't know what you don't know and you might think things are great. Dude, I got on a call with someone yesterday. He's like, dude, we're killing it. We've been in business for 10 years and we're doing XYZ numbers. And I was like, listen, dude, I'm going to say this very humbly. And like, I say this with no ego. I promise you, I do 10 times more than you. And I've done it in 2.5 years. You don't know shit. You know what I mean? I don't know shit. And I've done it 10 times bigger than you
Mhm.
in 20% of the time that you did it. So like 200x. You know what I mean? And I don't know shit. So like
Yeah.
you need to drop your ego aside and stop talking like that. And you need to get your shit together because there's so much you don't know that I know about your business that you don't because we're in the same industry.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I don't know that other people know. And that's why I pay other people to do it. Because he was like, we're good. We're killing it. Like all this stuff. And so I had to kind of check him and put him in place there. So you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you need to bring someone who's in the same. And here's the mistake people make. They'll go get someone from a different industry. So like I run a marketing agency. Like I'm not going to go get someone who's built a $400 million insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not really directly relevant. I would rather go find someone who built a $100 million marketing company and ask them what they did because those are more directly correlated to my problems. And I think a lot of people view money as like the indicator if someone's qualified or not, but it's money. It's like the success that they've gotten, how quickly they've gotten it, how recently they've gotten it, and what industry it's in. And so like if those four things aren't matching up and it's not recent and they did it 10 years ago and it was in a different industry, even if it was $1 billion, I don't really care what you have to say. It's not going to help me with my problem.
Yeah. No, that's definitely very, very insightful. So, wow, man, this has been a really interesting conversation. So if somebody's watching this and they probably already have a business, they want to run a better business, what are a couple key takeaways that you want to leave them with?
Focus as a CEO. Your two main focuses are get more attention, which generates sales. So revenue, attention and revenue, number one. And number two, network with as much as you possibly can so that you can build a really strong network of team that you can build around you. So if like everything else, if you don't have systems, if you don't have finances, if you don't have anything, if you can create mass attention and get sales and revenue from that attention and also have people that you can hire that are super qualified and like really A+ talent, and there's nothing in between, no systems, nothing, that company can go to tens of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Just from you going in, being able to get more attention in business and them being able to be talented people that can figure it out and do the work that needs to be done. If you have both of those and nothing in between, I would take that over a perfectly systemized business that has no attention and has like mid-level talent. Yeah. Like I don't care about that. I would rather take the latter, the first one. And so I think that's the best advice. Like if you're listening to this, you need to stop making bullshit excuses on why you don't need attention, why you don't need more sales, why you're growing slowly because we want to grow slowly. No one wants to grow slowly. I promise you. You do not want to go to the gym and spend a year to get a six pack if you can do it in a month. It's just impossible, right? No one wants to. We just justify our lack of speed by saying we want to grow slowly. And so I challenge you to get out of that mindset and start trying to play a different game.
Awesome, man. That's a powerful insight right there. Nobody wants to grow slowly. It's just an excuse. So if people want to connect with you, where do they find you?
Instagram and YouTube, Eddie Maalouf, just the way that it's spelled on this podcast. And you can find me anywhere. I actually run my Instagram fully myself. My team posts, but I'm the only one who actually can log in. So if you need anything from me personally, feel free to DM me there and I'll make sure I get back to you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This is Eddie Maalouf, the marketing king himself. Thanks for hopping on today, and we'll see you on the next episode of Better Business with Austin Zellen.